This is not the easiest cabinet to put together. We get a lot of questions on the wall diagonal corner cabinet. So can you take us through how to put this one together?
Most definitely. It's a little intimidating once you take it out of the box. As you can see, it's probably more parts than most of our cabinets. Okay. And definitely the angle of it is what makes it a
bunch of weird shapes.
Build.
Okay.
Yes. We'll go through step by step and show you how to get this thing put up so you can hang it on the wall.
Okay, sounds good. And this cabinet is going to be used right in the corner between two elevations usually.
Yep.
And it's just that diagonal wall corner cabinet.
Yep.
So a little bit of a specific cabinet to put together, but helpful to show everybody what we're doing.
Definitely.
All right, let's get into it.
All right. Basic tools for this cabinet assembly is going to be the 18 gauge brad nailer as usual. Typically we would use the 1 1/4 for most of our builds, but for this cabinet specifically, we're going to use some 3/4 inch nails, and I'll show you why for that reason.
So these are 18 gauge 3/4 inch brads. Okay.
Yep. And then the same 18 gauge galvanized crown stapler.
So very much the typical tools we're using in a normal build of a cabinet.
Yep.
Just a little bit different with the 3/4 inch brads.
Definitely.
Okay, got it.
All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort through our side panels. As you can see, this is our front side panel. This would be our back side panel. The way to differentiate that is you're going to have a 45-degree dado in the back side panel.
Got it.
You're going to have a half span on the front side panel.
So just a rabbet.
Exactly.
Basically. Okay.
More so to just kind of fit these two together. So what we'll do here is we'll get this laid up. These are all pre-drilled panels, as you can see, but I would definitely recommend running some nails through them just because it'll hold a little bit more durability for one, and then it'll actually keep in place when you're actually trying to set these screws.
Okay. Notice I'm moving my fingers out of the way.
Sure did. We'll get our second one in place before we get these screws. We can do every step at once.
There we go.
Yeah. Now that we have our panels mounted, we'll get our hardware.
Okay.
A little bit different hardware than most of our base or wall cabinets.
Yeah, got some brackets.
Yep.
Yeah.
As you can see, we have these 45-degree brackets. We can show you where those placements are. That's going to be at the end of the assembly.
Okay. So we put those aside. Yep. And then we start to sort our other pieces and parts.
Yep. As every cabinet assembly, getting your hardware sorted is definitely crucial. You don't want to use your back panel screws or your hinge screws in the reverse. I mean, you could potentially break your frame or not have your panels mounted.
As always, we're going to sort, make sure that we sort by length and know where those go.
Connecting our two side panels through these pre-drilled holes. So this is where we have a lot of the difficulties with this cabinet, is kind of getting this back panel, which is a 45-degree angle, off of an already 90-degree angle side, mounted securely, and making sure that it's flush and that the whole cabinet is tight and durable.
Okay.
So what we do is we'll take our 18 gauge nailer, we'll get our 3/4 inch nails, our back panel, and as you can see, this 45-degree dado is where our back panel rests, because it's going to be a 45 on the back, and then where it flushes into that dado is going to sit right there.
So that locks in at a 45 angle.
And something that we do is we'll grab this little cutout here, we'll kind of pull it tight to make sure that we can get that in set as far as possible.
Okay.
This is where you would utilize your 3/4 nails. Specifically, if you used anything longer than that, it would potentially come through the back panel, and then you'd have to repair all of that all the way down.
Gotcha.
So we'll pull this tight.
Okay.
We'll flush it. And then we shoot similar to our base cabinets, where it's going to be about a 1/4 inch from the edge. And then we're going to shoot about every 6 inches. Okay. For this, it's going to be a little difficult because it's almost an optical illusion. You're staring at a 45-degree angle trying to shoot straight into it.
Making your eyes crazy.
It does. It's a little difficult. So definitely might take a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, you'll feel it. Same.
Now are the nails supposed to stick out the other side like they are?
Oh my.
Just kidding.
Yes. Oh no. Typical with every other cabinet, we're gonna shoot about every 6 inches.
Okay.
Making sure that we're holding this back panel flush and tight as possible to make sure that there's a tight bond between the side and the back. So typically, after you get your back panel mounted to one side,
okay,
is when you would install your top and bottom shelves.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just because if
It won't
you
go in.
What's that?
It won't go in afterwards.
Exactly. Once you get one of these other sides in, you're definitely going to be struggling.
You're out of luck.
Potentially breaking. With every other cabinet, all assembly, the natural panel goes in, the colored part goes out,
Okay.
or finish, colored finish, and then those slide right into those dados. As always, back panel is pre-drilled, so when you slide that top and bottom panel in, there's no question on where your screws are actually going to go.
Definitely a little more engineering in this cabinet.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, if you are a little bit unsure as well, too, clamps are always going to be
Hold it together.
well used. Exactly. You can hold it together, kind of dry fit it, and then zip it. However is most comfortable for you and your skill set.
Gotcha.
When mounting this top or bottom panel, you always want to make sure you're pulling it tight to the back panel. For one, when you're mounting this, as long as this panel doesn't exceed this edge here,
Okay.
or if it exceeds the front edge of this side panel.
Got it.
When you have that sort of issue, it seems though your frame is going to be more difficult to put on because it's going to be a little bit more crooked or
Kind of racked a little bit.
exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So pull that tight. We'll mount this drawer to the shelf. Now we have our top and bottom shelves installed. Once we have those installed is where we set our other two side panels, run it into the dado. We can just set it first.
There we go.
And then pop it in place as needed. Common issues with this, actually, if you take a look at that, you see how this is slightly bowed. Sometimes when you open these, you can get a bowed back panel. What we do to alleviate that is we'll put a bracket here with a handle on it, and then you can pull it tight to fit into that dado and then nail it.
Gotcha. All right, so a little trick there is you're pulling the back out to get it, because that it's got to fit in like this, and
Right.
it's a little, you're fighting it a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so once we get that set, we get them all placed into the dado. We grab our brad nailer again
3/4 inch
with our
brads.
3/4. And then same thing, we want to make sure that this is as tight as possible as we can get it. And then we'll shoot every about 6 inches. So this is the basic box construction for our WDC. This construction, if you lay it on the back like this, it could potentially flower open. Clamps is definitely a great tool to have so that you can clamp top and bottom, it'll hold it tight, and then you can put your frame on, mount it together.
Gotcha.
That'll kind of solidify it once you get that frame.
And typically, if you're in between two elevations, you could shoot a brad here and here.
You sure
to keep
could.
it from folding open.
Yeah, most
Okay.
definitely, especially just because this is a corner cabinet. Shooting on the outside, they're always going to be covered by either another cabinet or a finish of some sort. So outside shooting on this definitely should
It's okay. We got screws there already anyway, so
Exactly.
so we could do that if you're struggling with it, thinking it's going to fold open. Just shoot a couple of brads in there and hold it together.
Yep, most definitely. Typically what I do is I lay it this way. Run our thin bead of glue on this side. For this cabinet specifically, we'll only do the top and bottom dados,
Okay.
not these sides. Being as though these are a 45-degree angle into that, easily once you put the glue in there and you fit it tight, it's gonna gush everywhere.
Yeah, and it's a painted surface anyway, so it's not going to adhere that well.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so we'll place this on.
There we go.
Hooray! Easiest method that I've found to assemble this is sideways as such. Like I said, if you wanted to assemble it on the back, you would definitely need clamps to hold that together. I utilize this way because the weight of the top actually holds these kind of more together, And then instead of having to position a 45 on a flat surface, I can do a normal 45 like our regular cabinet assembly.
Gotcha.
Just more so for muscle memory, not necessarily for any other reason.
Okay.
As with all of our cabinet assembly, when you're putting your frame on, you always want to make sure that your face frame is flush with your side panels, creating the square all the way around, just because when it comes to installation, you wouldn't want to have any of those issues when you get to those steps.
Gotcha.
We'll hold it tight.
So a little different when coming from the outside, as you mentioned.
Yep, a little different, definitely. Thank you for actually saying that. So this is one of the few cabinets that we would staple from outside to inside, specifically for the frame. The way that the frame is made on this is a little bit thinner on the outside edge than it is on the inside edge. So to shoot it from inside to outside could easily break this real thin layer right here.
Gotcha.
So we shoot inside or outside to inside, and then as we stated, this is a corner cabinet, so there's always going to be a finish or a cabinet next to it.
Okay.
So we hold the frame down with our thumbs. We'll push that side panel up against that frame from the inside, and then place our gun at the 45 and shoot. Rotate it, and then we'll do the same with this side. Hold it down, flush it, push from inside to hold the frame, shoot all the way down. Let's keep going here. Once we have our side panels mounted to the frame, then we'll go interior and mount the top and bottom panels to the frame as well. Thank you, sir. And that
Looking like a cabinet.
is the basic box construction of our WDC. And then this is pretty standard as all the others. Pre-drilled for all of our hinge placement and all of our screw placement. Again, sorting through your hardware is pretty key. Got our screws.
We'll mount our door.
As with all of our cabinets, they're pre-drilled on either side, so hinge placement is really based up to you and your specifications.
So you can make this a left or a right. Doesn't
Yes,
matter.
you can. Okay. We'll make this a hinge right. Now that our door's installed, last but not least, we'll put on our rubber bumpers. And we'll make those adjustments if needed. After completion of your WDC is when we would install these 45-degree angled brackets. As this is a corner cabinet, it potentially could have a lot of weight pulling from both directions. So we would want to install these just to ensure the durability.
Just gives it a little more structure. Does the shelf go in this cabinet after it's installed?
Yes.
Or after it's built?
Yes, you
So
can
you don't have
actually
to
fit this one after it's built.
Okay, because I know sometimes that becomes an issue.
Yeah, it does. There are a slim few that you build with the shelf in, but yeah, for the majority
the lazy?
of our, Lazy Susan is one of them. For the majority of our wall cabinets, though, you can fit those in after.
Okay.
Placement of these brackets is pretty self-explanatory. The 45 matches this angle. And then you would just use the screws provided to mount those. That's a pretty tight fit. So there's no need to worry about placement or making sure that you're high enough or low enough. It literally fits right on that 45.
Just kind of bump it up against the top and the bottom, and there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Spin around.
Please. Same placement here. These 45-degree angles. Right up against the frame and side panels.
A little time consuming putting those on.
Yeah, it sure is. All right.
All right.
And that would be the bracket placement.
Great.
Once you get done with your installation, you get your doors all set, definitely put your shelves in. It's ready for dishes.
That wasn't too difficult.
No, not at all.
No, you just have to kind of understand that you got that 45 to work with. And I
Definitely.
think once you get past that, it's okay.
Right. It's kind of getting over that challenge of seeing a lot of odd angles and stuff that's not really symmetrical as all the other cabinetry that we do.
Gotcha. A little bit different, but not too difficult. So well done there. So that's
Definitely.
that's a cabinet.